Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Good morning. Hello, hello. There's too much fun going on. Everybody should stop. Well, welcome to Unity of Fort Collins on this beautiful June day. We were just talking, it feels like paradise today, doesn't it? Just gorgeous. We are in our series today of welcoming speakers from other faith traditions. So let me talk a minute about Unity of Fort Collins because we're a little different than lots of folks. Some would call us a weird church, but we are an interfaith unity church, which means that the Unity Church tradition founded by the Fillmores is based on Christianity. It's a Christian church. And there are many Unity churches that are also consider themselves to be interfaith, meaning we believe in the truth of all the great traditions, that there is one God, there is truth to be had, that we are part of something bigger, that the spokes on the wagon wheel lead to the center, and there's more than one right way to learn about the divine. So anyway, David Stallings today, welcome David, is going to speak to us about the Baha'i Faith. So welcome David, we're glad you're here. We have a bunch of, well, a few different announcements this morning. If you're new to Unity of Fort Collins and would like a welcome packet put in your hand, would you raise your hand and we'll stick one in? There you go. Anybody else want a welcome packet? All right. We are blessed with some great music around here, and today is a combination of our traditional Unitix band. So welcome back to those folks. John Magny and the Unity Choir will be doing music today as well. So the choir is relatively new and big fun here at Unity, so we're pretty excited about that. Kellee James will be doing the reading, and so that's what's in our lineup for today. Welcome to the folks who are online. We have a pretty big contingent that watch us online and view the YouTube services afterwards. We're gonna, excuse me. We're gonna pass around a clipboard to sign up to help with the Unity booth at the NOCO Pride event. So Unity is the perfect place for people who identify as LGBTQ to have a safe and welcoming community. So we love to show up at Pride and to say to folks, you are welcome here, and your families are welcome here. So spirituality is for everyone. And our community has been a warm and welcoming place for all folks. So if you'd like to help serve at the Pride booth, put your name on the clipboard and you can help represent Unity of Fort Collins at the Pride event. If you notice our art wall back there, we've done it a couple of different ways. Often we'll have an artist do their display, but this month's art wall is a conglomeration of 11 different of our own artists who have worked around a theme. I'm kind of excited about this theme thing. So I'm hoping to do this again. I think it's cool to have lots of different artists participate. So if you have ideas for a theme, but I think we're gonna stay with this. So it doesn't put the pressure on one person to have like a whole wall. It's kind of cool to just be one of the group and a place to display your creative art. We've got a lot of stuff growing at Unity. The wonderful rain turned it into a lush and verdant world out there. So if you're interested in helping with grounds weeding, we've got an adopt a bed program, and there are ways to help take care of our beautiful place, including there's a labyrinth out there in the wild south of. So we'll liberate the labyrinth here at some time from the grass that's around it. Let's see, the community lunch bunch today is headed to Kava after the service, so Unity folks meet together for lunch if you'd like to, so that's where we're going. And today we have a retreat for the Unity Council members, so we're going to spend the afternoon contemplating and envisioning sort of what's working here and where are we going in the future. So that's our plan for today. Let's everybody take a big old deep breath. And we'll join in our centering prayer. Richard, we've got music going still. Can you hear it? Or I'm hearing music. It's not the music I would expect it to be hearing. Oh no, it's still going. I'm not going to worry about it. We'll just continue. Our unity centers us in light and peace, allowing us to recognize our God within and to radiate that love to the world. Thank you.
So, Ann, it's not your head. There is something coming out of the monitors. And I've been at Unity for a while, and occasionally there's signals that get picked up and transmitted in the system, but it's really only coming from the monitor. But we'll overplay it, I'm sure.
Spears.
Through the monitors.
Music of the Spears.
So, Peter Mayer, I hope you know him. If you don't, you need to. He's an amazing singer-songwriter from Wisconsin, Michigan? I don't know, he's somewhere. Minnesota. And there are two Peter Mayers. If you go on the online, you'll have to make sure you get the right one. But he wrote this song and many others.
And he played here a few times.
Yeah, and he comes to town. I'm not going to make too big of a pitch, but if you look at Quantum Arts, because the two songs we're doing were from artists that were brought in by Quantum Arts, and pretty sure Peter will be here, beautiful, and hopefully play elsewhere. So this is his God is a River tune. Ever-shifting waters of the river of this life, I was swimming, seeking comfort, I was wrestling ways to find a boulder I could cling to, a stone to hold me fast, where I let the fretful water of this river round me pass. And so I found an anchor, a blessed resting place, a trusty rock I called my Savior, for there I would be safe from the river and its dangers, and I proclaimed my rock divine, and I prayed to it, protect me, and the rock replied, God is a river, not just a stone. God is a wild and raging rapids and a slow meandering flow. God is a deep and narrow passage, a peaceful sandy shoal. God is the river swimmer, so let go. So I come to my rock tightly with conviction in my arms, never looking at the stream to keep my mind from thoughts of harm. But the river kept on coming, kept on tugging at my legs, till at last my fingers faltered and I was wiped away. So I'm going with the flow now, these relentless twists and bends, acclimating to the motion and a sense of being led. And this river's like my body now, it carries me along through the ever-changing scenes by the rocks that sing this song. God is a river, not just a stone. God is a wild and raging rapids and a slow meandering flow. God is a deep and narrow passage, a peaceful sandy shoal. God is the river swimmer, so let go. So let go. Come on up.
Now we have a reading.
My reading is from Practical Metaphysics, A New Insight in Truth by Eric Butterworth. A person like Jesus was endowed with a highly evolved consciousness, but he was still a person. He was a person demonstrating that we can achieve high evolution if we work at it, if we practice it. What is forgotten so often and is totally missing in the whole Orthodox Christian teaching is that Jesus was demonstrating, revealing, manifesting, and making real that which ultimately must become normal behavior of a highly evolved human race. I believe this is where we're going. It's so true that the pessimist is always saying, well, I'll tell you where we're going. We're all going to hell in a handbasket. He says, look what's going on in the world out here. The fact is, man is an innately divine creature, and there's no way that he can escape it. He may postpone it, and we do a very good job of postponing it. We can deviate from it. We can pervert it. We can frustrate it. We can suppress it. But there's no way that we can put it off forever, because this is where the human race is going. You go back through the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament, there are those who like to talk about the days when God walked the earth. I say poppycock to that. God walks the earth constantly, because God is the allness that is being expressed as an eachness. The heroes of the Old Testament were merely beginning to experience something of this allness, and the prophets were those who were far ahead of the people themselves. They were trying to help them understand. But basically, we see an evolution of the God process constantly moving through the Bible. I've told the story of the little boy in Sunday school who'd been studying the Old Testament for a year. He learned about this vicious, very vengeful God who wiped out whole cities and destroyed people and came down as a bolt of lightning and so forth. Finally, the next course went into a study of the New Testament about Jesus and a very loving God, the Father presence within. And the little boy remarked, "Boy, God sure got better as he got older, didn't he?" This is the fact that God did get better, because God is an extension of our awareness of ourselves. This is what humanity is all about. We always want to keep ourselves constantly aware of it, because this means that Jesus was simply far ahead of his time, demonstrating the tremendous God possibility within us. It implies that the difference between Jesus and each of us is one of inherent spiritual capacity, a difference in the demonstration of potential. In other words, every person is a potential Christ.
Thank you, Kellee. And now we'd like to do a song by Brother's Son, written by Greg Greenway. It's called In the Name of Love, and it has to do with some heroes. When I get tired, it's like I was dropped into the sea. You could swim your whole life and be nowhere you want to be. Everyone gets tired and the water is so wide. Then somebody comes and shows you, they show you the other side. The other side. There was a little man, barefoot and frail. He took a walk down to the Ganges and took a lion by the tail. He made a way out of no way. One by one they saw the truth. He was ready when they told him. They said, history chooses you. We see so far. In the name of love, we're standing on. In the name of love, the shoulders of giants. One more. In the name of love. And then there was another lion in a lamb. He walked into the heart of darkness, into the streets of Birmingham. He made a way out of no way. One by one we saw the truth. He was already on the mountaintop when they said, Memphis chooses you. We see so far. In the name of love, we're standing on. In the name of love, the shoulders of giants. One more. In the name of love. In the name of love.
of love. One more in the name of love. Early morning, April 4th, shots ran out in the Memphis sky. Free at last, they took your life, but they could not take your pride. In the name of love, one more in the name of love. In the name of love, one more in the name of love. Whoa, 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 whoa,
So make a way out of no way. Make their stories live and breathe. And we will never lack for heroes in our darkest hour of need. In the name of love, in the name of love, one more in the name of love.
Thank you.
Good morning, friends. Boy, it's nice to be here. I really want to thank you all and Julie for thinking of the Baha'is and for inviting me here today. And all that I have seen so far, I just kind of want to hang out for a while. The music is just outstanding. Thank you all. Even when I walked into choir practice, you guys didn't need to stop. You could just keep going. And this morning so far is a perfect segue for what I want to tell you today. I'm here to celebrate the name of this church, Unity. Unity is the foundation of the revelation of Baha'u'llah, who is the prophet founder of the Baha'i Faith. As we have heard earlier, the earth, all that we know, civilization, is continuation. And to begin with, I think I'd like to tell you just a little bit of my path, because over the years I have discovered that my path has been the same as so many people. I was raised a Methodist. I was a very devout Christian, and I loved going to church, and I loved everybody at the church, and I was very active in Methodist Youth Fellowship, etc. But as time went by, and as the world got smaller, I began thinking, okay, I'm a Christian. I actually, when I was 10 years old, I went forward by myself at a Billy Graham crusade, and I was saved. And it stuck. And then again, the same thing happened after I witnessed war. And I came back and I talked to a chaplain. I was again saved. So, as I have gone through life and the world got smaller, I began questioning, okay, I'm a Christian. I am a devout Christian. I have accepted Christ. But what about the people on the other side of the globe who are Buddhists or Hindu? They have accepted Krishna or Buddha, but they haven't accepted Christ. What about them? This was a question that always stayed with me. And as I grew up in high school, I went to my mother and I said, Ma, I think I'm going to stop going to the Methodist church. I think I'm going to start going to the other churches because I know there's something else out there that I can bring into my own soul, spirit. And she said, absolutely. She always encouraged everything that her children did. And she was raised in her great-grandfather was a traveling minister in Indian territories before it became Oklahoma. And on my father's side, his family, his brother-in-law was a Southern Baptist minister from Alabama. So we would have some really good conversations occasionally. But as time went by, the question stayed in my head. And when I was in the military and came back out and was reborn again for the second time, I continued to question, and I came home on my last leave before being discharged, and my mother was reading a book. And she wanted me to read this because it was something new, and it was really creating emotions in her that she didn't quite understand, and she asked me to read it. So I said, yeah, Ma, I'll read it, but I'm home on leave, so I've got partying to do. And I did. And so I took the book, and on the way back to my station, I read it. And it was about the Baha'i Faith, and it was about prophecy, and it was about what we call progressive revelation, which I'll get to in a minute. And it answered all the questions that I had ever had in this very short period of time. Between a flight from Denver to Honolulu. And I looked up the Baha'i Faith in the phone book, and I called some people, and they told me about the Baha'i Faith. And immediately, I walked out in their front yard, and I prayed. And I prayed to Christ, and I said, please forgive me if I'm wrong. And please guide me to the right path if this is not right. And I became a Baha'i 3 a.m. that morning. And I have been so ever since. You know, millennia ago, God made a pact with Abraham that he would not leave mankind alone. He made a covenant with Abraham that he would not leave mankind alone. And as we look through all of the thousands of millennia that we can't even really conceive of, because we all know that God created all things. We all believe that God created all things, that he always has been and always will be. So when we try to think of the past, it's really hard for us to register this. But like the covenant with Abraham, even prior to Abraham, there has always been messengers, prophets, manifestations, whatever you want to call them, that God has sent to mankind to lead them a little further. Abraham taught his people that there was God, that there was one God. And as usual, he was persecuted, his followers were persecuted because this was against what people thought. And Abraham told of one to come. Now, Abraham was about 5,000 years before Christ, and before Abraham was Krishna and others that we don't know their names. But Abraham taught that there was one God, and he told of one to come after him. Then about in the year 1330 BC, Moses came. Moses said, everything that Abraham has taught you is true. God has laws for us to live by, and so I'm going to give you these laws to live by. And after Abraham and Moses, then came Buddha about 500 years BC. He also acknowledged the prophets of the past and told of one to come. And after Buddha, then Christ came. And we all know in our hearts and our souls, and one of the readings today was who Christ really was. All of these prophets are men, just like us. All of these prophets are men who the Spirit of God is bestowed upon. They all contain the same Spirit of God. They are all charged with acknowledging the spiritual laws that we have always followed and saying, okay, now I'm going to teach you a little thing, a little more so that we can carry on an ever-advancing civilization. Because God told Abraham that you would learn these things as time goes by. And as with Christ, he was a man who was endowed with the Holy Spirit, just like the others, and he was charged to teach people to love one another, to love, which we all know is the single most important thing that mankind has always needed and will always need. And so Christ taught people to love thy brother as thyself. And from this, when you just look at civilization, tribes were formed. And tribes lived together in unity and harmony. And they followed the teachings of Christ. But then after a period of time, they took the gospel that Christ gave them and they started adding their own variations, and pretty soon they lost the original intent of what Christ taught. And then about 622 AD, Muhammad came. Muhammad acknowledged Christ and all of the previous prophets and taught his people to revere these people as they would any prophet, as they would him as he taught them about Islam. Muhammad revered Christ and Moses and told their people to follow them. He told his people to follow them, which they did for a period of time. And now, as we can bear witness, we can see that Islam is going in different directions, as all of the major religions have gone in different directions according to the beliefs and teachings of the original followers. Then, after Muhammad, the Bab and Baha'u'llah, the twin manifestations of God, came, which fulfills the prophecies, which is part of the book that I read, fulfilled the prophecies of the Bible. And they came, the Bab proclaimed the coming of the promised one of all ages. And his name is Baha'u'llah, and he came and he established the Baha'i era. He teached, gracious sakes. He acknowledged the spiritual laws that we have always followed. And he said now that we have evolved, and there are things that we must do in order to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization. And these things we all accept without even thinking about it, because the world has gotten smaller. Anytime a revelation is brought, then our minds and our spirits are changed, and things come easier to us. Imagine 500 years ago when if you were to talk about the equality of men and women. You think that would have happened? Nah. Baha'u'llah said that that is essential, that men and women must be equal, that we won't establish world peace. As all of the religions have taught, there will come a day when we will have world peace, and it is only when men and women, when women and men are equal, that we will finally establish world peace. Of course, it's easy for us to accept now that mankind is one. Many people don't particularly care for that, but for the most part, we acknowledge that the human race is one family, that we all must live together, that all prejudices must be eliminated. Racial prejudice, culture, class, gender, that in order to progress, this is what needs to happen now. One of what I consider one of the most important things when I learned about this is independent investigation of truth. Baha'u'llah said that we all are capable of learning what truth is in our hearts, that we don't need others to tell us how we should believe and what path we should walk, that now we need to investigate what is truth and determine that for ourselves. And along with this, he also said that mankind must establish education for all people, for everyone. And we can see people trying to do that and people being withheld from doing that, particularly women. But that has to happen. Education must happen in order for people to be able to determine what is truth for them. He said that if we have a choice of educating the man and the woman, to always educate the woman, because she is the teacher of the children, because she is the most important teacher, and that they should be taught first. Things like science and religion must agree. The two things that allow us to progress, science and religion. If religion does not agree with science, then it's superstition. If science doesn't agree with religion, then it's materialism. These two foundations on what all of civilization stand must agree. And if we look into it, and if we put aside superstition, then we can see where science and religion And science is finally catching up a little bit to religion. You know, we all know that Einstein and a lot of the Socrates and all of these people, they all eventually acknowledged that there was God, that there was a creator. And that's the way things will be, even more so. That science or religion will agree. There also needs to be a spiritual solution to the economic problem, which whenever we think about it, just knee-jerk. Well, of course there needs to be, because the economic problems and injustices are so prevalent worldwide. And there needs to be a spiritual solution to the economic problem that has to do with fairness and justice. And justice, it goes much more deeply than just being fair. And in order for us to thrive, this needs to happen. Also, my family has had the privilege of living in a lot of places in this world. And thank goodness that Baha'u'llah said that we must establish a universal language so that we can all communicate. So far, thank goodness, it seems to be English. In a lot of countries where we have lived, in all of the countries where we have lived, there's always their mother tongue. And then there is English, and they all seem to be, not all, but the other language that they use to communicate with expats, I guess, people from another country, is English. So there must be the establishment of a universal language so that we can all communicate. The last thing is an international tribunal to uphold world peace. We all are very familiar with the League of Nations and the United Nations, and we all know their benefits and their shortcomings, and the fact that they must evolve so that all of the countries of the world can have a tribunal that speaks for all of the countries of the world and that can keep world peace. So these are an example of the social laws that Baha'u'llah brought that we are working toward establishing in order to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization. Since I became a Baha'i, one of the I'm sorry. Best doesn't get it. Anyway, the fact that I can, and I have, talked with peoples of almost every religion that you can think of, and we can talk about and agree upon things pertaining to spirituality and particularly pertaining to God. And that we are all accepted now, for the hopefully, so that we are all striving to accept one another is part of what the most recent revelation has brought, that this must happen, that all of the religions need to come together and acknowledge that there is one God and that there is a divine plan that we all follow. And it's time to unite under the one God, one mankind on this wonderful planet that we have here. I feel that I've gone off on a couple of tangents, and if I did, I apologize. I hope that you understood what I was trying to say. Anyway, again, coming to unity is a privilege for me, and I really appreciate that. The word unity to describe this is perfect. It is not the united something. It is simply unity. It is the coming together of people to worship. And I very much appreciate you all being here and you all asking me. This has certainly been a privilege. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, David. It's our privilege to learn about the Baha'i faith. And that's what's great about Unity Church is we allow all these other thought systems, and usually they're kind of saying the same thing. Our thoughts are prayer, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayer. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is everywhere.
I would like to offer, you can hear things, okay, what is called the unity prayer. Oh my God, unite the hearts of thy servants, that they may reveal thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavors, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily thou art their helper and their Lord.
May the blessings of God rest upon me. May God's peace abide in me. May God's presence illuminate now and forevermore. May the blessings of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide in you. May God's presence
So David Stallings, we bless you and we appreciate what you've shared with us today. And as we sang that little song, may the blessings of God rest upon the Baha'i community, wherever they are. Julie mentioned to me that in the bookstore, there's always a good book, Baha'u'llah and the New Era. So if you'd like to look at that, I think you'll be blessed by it. So we come to our offering, and so we center ourselves in this moment. Let's take that offering, that symbol of our prosperity, and just hold in our hands for just a moment. Be thankful and grateful. And let's bless our offering. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
Be in that number. And now I'd like to get a number of the congregation up here, because we got a choir song to lay down for you. Oh yeah, we've been having a lot of fun with the choir. And I want to say that we're going to do another choir song next Sunday. And, my co-partner in the music here is Elise Wonder, and to work around her touring schedule. Now, she will be doing the next 3 Sundays. So the next choir song is going to be way at the end of July, after next week's, okay? Probably confusing you. Next week, we're going to do Everyday People by Sly and the Family Stone, so come here for that, okay? But now we got a song our man Chris McShay here has written, a really great new addition to our Unity song list here. It's called Live in Me. We're gonna hum it in.
Spirit's name. I'm praying for the world to heal again, a simple way of living that we all need to give. We are here right now singing praises to you, opening our hearts with all we do, a simple simple way of living for me and you.
Live in me, give me love and peace, heal me, so I can release the fear inside my heart. Live in me, live in me, so that I can see into me without worry as I drink the milk of your word. Live in me. Thank you, Communitics. And we very much appreciate the Unitics on the rhythm section there, Corey and Gerald. That felt good, didn't it?
Well, aren't you glad you came to Unity of Fort Collins on the Sunday morning? Who would want to miss that? Thank you, John. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, choir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I guess we need to find out. We've got some kiddos back there. Oh, no kiddos. All right. Well, let's go ahead then and just circle up and close our service, all right?
Okay.
So together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.